we celebrate Black History Month, I pray for our speaker as she goes to speak. I pray that as she brings us a gifted word of our history from all over the world. From all over the world. What Black people are doing and have done in this world. In your world, Father, where you've made all different types of people. I thank you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. I thank you, Father. Glory, hallelujah. Sister Julie, I thank you that you didn't stop the move of God. Because he's here. The move of God is here. Today you'll be different. Today you'll feel different. Today you'll move different. Today you'll move different. Today you'll move different. It may be a few of us, but there's power in the numbers. There's power in the numbers. So I thank you. I thank you. God, I thank you. God, I thank you. Glory to the church. I now know why, but if you would have saw me yesterday, I'm full today, church. Full today, church. When I woke up this morning, I knew it was a different day today, church. Full today. I thank you. Thank you for an encounter with the Father. I had an encounter with the Father. And I thank you. Thank you. Apostle, before the speaker comes up, is there anything that you like to say? Apostle, Dr. French, is there anything you like to say before the speaker comes up? Today, speaker today, celebrating the Black History Month, is none other than my daughter, Summer Jackson. And she's going to present. A lot of you all vote. A lot of you don't vote. A lot of you know some stuff. But today we're going to learn more. Today we're going to count more. Don't hesitate to stop her and ask questions so we can get deep into this thing called who are we? Who are you? Why are you here? What is the great commission of our ancestors? So we'll learn that today. So without further ado, do I present to you my daughter, Summer Jackson. Good morning.
Good morning.
All
right, y'all, get off my camera.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing this morning?
Just fine, just fine. Woke up.
My mother has enlisted me to impart a little bit of history and know-how that I know. I don't know everything, but I know a little bit of something. So she said she wanted me to come because Black History Month, and there's a lot of things that people don't know about our history in the United States. They don't know that Black history is American history.
Amen.
That we are pivotal
Sure,
to
you're
the
right.
functioning of this country. And the only reason there is the United States of America is because of Black people. At the end of the day, it's a fact. You can look at the numbers, it's a fact. The funds that made this country so vast and great came off our backs. Free labor. freely. So my topic is going to be voting, and I'm going to take us back to the Reconstruction era. So in the Civil War, slaves have been freed. Reconstruction era, right? During this time, you have the Reconstruction Act of 1867, which technically gave black men, not women, we're still not in that equation yet. It's going to take a century later for us to get that right. But in 1867, black men technically had the right to vote. You got the Reconstruction era. You had the military come down in the South and actually protect a lot of communities of black people. So you had an increase of black people voting. You had actual federal senators, people like Blanche Bruce, uh, that came up, former slave in Mississippi, became a senator, tax assessor, had a huge house in Mississippi with land and all these different things. Great time. Black people had doctors, attorneys, whole communities. Fast forward, of course, because every time we prosper, sometimes our caucasity neighbors get dismayed at our luxury and our beautiful, prosperous ways and our happiness and joy.
Facts.
And at this time, most black people are Republicans, so it's the Democrats that just decide to form the KKK and start annihilating communities and stopping black people from voting as much as they can. You have the 15th Amendment that comes down in 1870, which technically allows everybody to vote without any, I'm sorry, men still. I apologize. Still not, ladies, we still not in here. But the men can vote technically, legally, without any discrimination. But of course, there's tests that they give you. If you try to go down there to register to vote, they'll stop you by saying you got to take this test. If you pass the test, you say no, come back and recite the 10th Bill of Rights, which are not just the title that everybody knows, right? To bear arms, right to free speech, so all the little stuff that go underneath that they want you to know. And then if you do come back and you know any of that, they'll threaten to kill you. So this a lot of things that were stopping you from voting, even during that time. Fast forward to 1877, you got the end of Reconstruction. Now, leading up to that, there was an increase in murders and threats for people who voted. So there was a decrease in black men who voted towards the leading up to the end of Reconstruction. Democrats were more in power in Congress, less Republicans, and so you didn't have as many freedoms leading up to.
So what you're telling me is that, so what you're saying is that there were more black Republicans than Democrats?
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
Yes. Most black people didn't become Democrats until years later.
So it's just like a flop.
Yeah. It wasn't until, I would say,
63.
Late 50s, 60s.
63.
Between there.
You wouldn't say 53.
63.
63, yeah. When the Democrats changed to more social points of views, that's when black people switched to Republicans. And I'm switching from Republicans to Democrats as a vast majority. We still got them outliers. So we still got what? The outliers are still over in the Republican. That's granddad used to say, no one knows what you put in the boots. Nobody knows what you check, Democrat, Republican. But yeah, so the end of Reconstruction era, 1877, you have the military is pulled out of the South, and so now you have whole communities that were formed, being brought down. You had the Freedmen's Bureau Bank a lot of people don't know about the Freedmen's Bureau Bank that was established. It was a bank that was established during the Reconstruction era. So keep in mind that the slaves didn't know how to read, so they had to learn banking, reading, business, because all of a sudden now they're sharecroppers. Because there was a large group that went north, but there was a large group that stayed in the South because all you knew was working a farm. That was your trade for generations. So you also had military black men who got a stipend. So they needed something to do with the funds. So they formed the Freedmen's Bureau. It was a black bank that black men could put their money in. It was mishandled and stolen. After the end of Reconstruction, the bank was destroyed and the money disappeared.
What do you mean the money disappeared?
So the money never got to the people who put the money in. Come to your own conclusion on what happened to this here money that the government was running. I'm not saying the government took it, but the black men didn't have it. And the only people in control of it was the government. So I don't know. Y'all come to your own conclusion on what that means. But okay, yeah. Y'all can say it's a conspiracy theory, but 2 + 2 = 4 in this question. But that's just my opinion. So you have the end of Reconstruction era. So now you have the end of a lot of black people who were prosperous. Now you do still have some black elite, who in certain areas of certain cities and states and everything up north. In the South, not as much, but you still have some black elite. And then we're gonna fast forward. So that's the end of Reconstruction. We were free, we thrived, we prospered. One thing the common thing in the United States that every time we prosper, every time we go through something, it takes a generation of us to get rights, and then we prosper. It never fails. If you look at the history, we're free, we prosper. Reconstruction ended. There was still some people prospering, not as much. But you fast forward, there's still people fighting for rights. There's still people fighting for the right to vote. Women, we finally get technically on the 19th Amendment, we get brought in. At least the white women. So, there's that. we still not, sisters, we still not fully in them. But the white women now have a voice in the 19th Amendment. I don't think they used it as much, but they had it technically, it was on the books. Fast forward, it wasn't until quite some time later they started actually, using it a little bit more as a group. And black women still have been pinnacle to the fight since day one this whole time. So we're going to fast forward. Now you got the Voters' Right Act of 1965. Going ahead. Almost 90 years. We finally got the Voters' Right of 1965, which says that they can no longer discriminate against race when it comes to getting your voter's registration card. So now it says you got to be 18, you got to be a U.S. citizen, and technically no felonies. We're going to discuss how they work with that anyway. But technically no felonies, which and you can get your right to vote after that. So they took away the literacy test, character test, all of that. So now we've got the right to vote, and you see a large group of black people voting. It was important. We had black businesses, black communities. Again, we are prospering, right? And you see the importance of voting down in the 60s and 70s. You see it. You see people in their 30s, 20s fighting along the generation before them for the rights that a lot of us take for granted today. You see them fighting. It's a beautiful time of hardship, but also you see some improvement, desegregation. All of this happens during this time, and we are prospering and doing well. Now, can somebody tell me what is voting? I've been talking about voting, but what is voting? Anybody?
You got that one, Coach.
Anybody?
Let me see. I think this is what I think.
I think voting is the selection of putting your leaders in place. Like I have if I decide to vote, I am a part of the selection process, quote unquote. I'm a part of that selection process with who will be my community leaders. Very true. Very true. Go ahead, stand up. Very good, and very true. Very true, very true. All of that is true. All of that is true.
Legal process to get your word out, to make it out to other people, for your race, your community, to enhance your community, and enhance your race, and so your voice can be heard legally without violence and fighting.
All of that is very true. Very true. Why do you think it is important to vote? Or do you think it's important to vote?
It's our democratic rights.
It is your democratic right, and I would give it even further, it's your civic duty to vote. Because everything that we do, see, say, everything is dictated by the government. I know a lot of people think it starts with the president, but it's your commissioner, your board, student board, it's the mayor, it's the sheriff, it's the city attorney, all of that, the city treasurer, all of that is dictated what you can do in your area. And all of these are voted in and dictated by the people that you vote in. We can just take the president, put all these people over the FBI, whatever. Those are not elected positions, but his position is elected, and he decides who gets in that position. So it's important to vote on the local arena, just like in the state and federal. I think a lot of it is more important to vote on the local and statewide than federal, because they're the only checks and balances we got to that person. That's that one. Y'all know what I'm talking about. They're the only checks and balances, and they dictate more of your day to day than anything else. I
have a question. So I realized I have not been in America long enough, but just from the little that I'm seeing, I realized that when it's November voting time for the president, that is a more hype event where a lot of people, you see, they show up to vote for the president. But because I'm a news watcher, I love news. Once I hear on the news that they're having these local elections, you don't hear a lot about it. And the people in the area do not go out a lot to vote for the local things like they do for the big one. My question is, why is that? For educational purposes.
So, a lot of people think the buck stops with the president. And what they don't understand is that the president is the head of the country, but a lot of your day-to-day rights are dictated by your state, city, and county delegates. That dictates. So the federal dictates what the states are technically allowed to do, right? They say, okay, well, y'all come up with your own rules, but these are the set things you can't go against. That's what they're saying. So you have the Bill of Rights, you have all of the Constitution, right? You can't go against these set things. Everything else up to you except these. So then the state says, okay, in our state, this is what we're doing, right? And the governor, the secretary of state, your state congress, they determine, okay, the laws for your state. That trickles down to your city council, your mayor, all of that. Then they say, okay, based upon the federal and state laws, these are what we're going to do for our area. Because we can't go over this, but we got to do this. But a lot of people don't understand that it's important to determine who these people are by going to vote. Okay? I know it can feel like it doesn't matter because this is not happening, this is happening. But let me give you an example. You wonder why you don't have a grocery store in your area. Nobody in the area vote. Nobody in the area vote. Why would they do anything for their area? Nobody in the area vote. Because politicians are not going to do anything that is not to their benefit. At the end of the day, that's the job. They are running to get elected, trying to get one thing done, and then running for re-election. That's just the cycle of the thing, right? So if no, go ahead.
I normally don't like to talk about politics, but I had a question. If back when they had Democrats and Republicans, Republicans was anti-slavery. What do anti-slavery mean?
So they were against. So the whole thing of anti-slavery was not fully just to free the slaves. It was a financial thing, right? So they were against slavery.
Right. So at one point, most black people was against slavery, right? Most black people are against slavery.
Yes.
So if they was against slavery, what year did it start? Black people started wanting to be Democrats. Democrats, they wanted to keep slavery going. Republicans wanted to demolish. They did demolish it, but it took the president to get killed to do all that because Abraham Lincoln was a Democrat, and they told him if he passed that bill, they was gonna blow his head off because he's a Democrat. But he was cool with passing the bill and freed the slave, but they took his life for it. But at what point a year did black folks consider themselves a Democrat? Because I don't vote, because I'm still thinking about what my grandmother was teaching me about Republicans and Democrats. Democrat parties, they wanted to keep slavery going, so that old money and the stuff that the Democrats have, why do black people consider themselves Democrats and not Republicans?
Okay, so let's go back a bit. So Lincoln was a Republican. He wasn't actually a Democrat. Right. Republicans were anti-slavery, strictly financially as a mass majority. There were the abolitionists and people who were against slavery. Okay, But as mass majority, it was a financial thing because the country was moving west. The South wanted slavery to go west. The North didn't want slavery to go west. So there was that argument of them saying, no, we want industry to go west. We don't want slavery to go west. That created the Civil War. We got that disagreement between the North and the South related to that. And Lincoln was putting forth to actually end slavery so that way they could have more military also. So it was partly, oh, we want to free slaves, but politicians do things for their own benefit. So it helps him if the slaves are free, because now I have a larger military. And so now they're allowing slaves to come to the North, join the military, and fight against the South. So it's not fully, oh, we love the blacks. It's not really that as much. Fast forward, right? Lincoln gets killed after slavery is abolished. Slavery is already abolished when he gets killed. Okay. And fast forward to answer your question about when blacks switched from Republican to Democrat. It was during the 60s. During the 60s, Democrats switched to more social agenda, so more civil rights agenda. So, at the end of the day, this is all. But politicians are always going to do for your benefit. So you have to align yourself with who you think will do the best for your community at the end of the day. Because that's the goal of, local or otherwise, they're trying to get, some of them are trying to get one thing done during that term, and at the same time trying to get elected and re-elected. So they have to play this game related to that. So they can't be 100% honest all the time, unfortunately, because they're playing a strategic game. It's good and bad. But black people switched to Democrat during the 60s when Democrats started focusing on civil rights issues, and Republicans wanted to stay with, Jim Crow, and wanted us to go back.
Quick question. I have two questions. Going back to the about the South and the North. One of the people called free money, the South would have free labor. And the North wasn't getting free labor. That's why they were fighting to they were getting all that free money. They were getting responsible for free labor.
Yes.
Okay. The second thing was Tony was saying about the grandmother. What Tony was saying about his grandmother. Ever see your grandmother? Yes, our grandmother, like my grandmother, as you get older, you have to get educated on your own a little more, because what they see was back then, she gave you the only thing that she was thinking about. But you have to get educated for yourself and find out about voting. Because you want to keep it as in the Bible. What it said. When Jesus died on the cross, nobody still don't care about reading the Bible, trying to go to church. He died for it. We don't vote for all our ancestors. They died for us. He get us to vote. See? But He get us free. But we don't read on them. We don't read ourselves. We don't try to educate ourselves. So we can go vote. And you won't know nothing about voting unless you educate yourself and listen to the decision and see what they're talking about. And what we do, we sit and just say, I ain't worried about that. So then, like on the park, guys argue with me all the time, talking about we don't have no lights out on the park to play basketball at a certain time. Nobody votes. If you go to the city and argue about it and vote, you can vote that light on the park. When you go to the white area, they got a park. They got lights on, they stay open late. That's because if you look at them, they show up to the meeting. We don't show up to the meeting.
Right.
That's the biggest problem. And as the pastor says, we don't want to pick up a book and read. If you read and look at the news, you'll find out what's going on. Because when something comes up and say, wait, how that law get there? They voted on that law, you didn't show up. And it's too late.
I just want to say something. If you want to know something, you ask. That's how you know. Okay. Back to Abraham Lincoln. You know, my ancestors told me that Abraham Lincoln, he wasn't a white man and he wasn't a black man. He was mixed. So I sometimes say to myself, he was for our people because he was our people. I don't know how true it is, but that's what I was always told from my ancestors.
Well, I don't know enough about Abraham Lincoln, about his lineage, to be able to confirm or deny whether or not he was mixed. But I do believe he was the president that freed the slaves, which is true. It's also true he did it for financial reasons as well, and to win the war against the South.
Just wanted to touch surprisingly, this morning, me and Brother Anthony was texting back and forth about purpose. Remember that conversation? And the statement he made was true about one wanted and one didn't. But he never got the purpose of why one wanted and one didn't. It wasn't that they didn't want it and one wanted it. There was a purpose for each party to want what they want. So it wasn't that black folks and white folks wanted this, wanted that. White folks had a purpose. Black folks had a purpose. The education the elders talking about is you should learn the purpose. Not vote because of what you're told. Go be educated. Because everything has a what? That's what you got to go get. Because it wasn't that we wanted this and they wanted that. And she explained it earlier, she get a chance to recap. But we always know the purpose of what people wanted and why they wanted it at the time they wanted it. And when you talk about Lincoln, it was more to it than just him being assassinated about slavery. It was a lot deeper. Because of this one guy is John F. Kennedy, you know who he is. So one of the things that I sat down and listened to most of the time. Because I didn't know we got to vote before you did. You got to listen to learn. And so I'm intrigued. So that's why I'm just sitting here quiet and soaking it up. I want to know my history.
Amen. So you had asked a question, right? And I often look at that as well about the, let's say, the presidential vote versus the state, the local. The majority of why it's probably so big is because by the time it makes it to that level, everything has already kind of been decided. So we think we're voting for the left or right, but if we don't participate in the voting at the lower level, once you get there, right, it's just everybody's going to vote for the president. But like you were saying, the constituents that we so-called put in office, if we're not in the conversation and the voting, don't say that, don't complain, because you didn't go out to the, you know what I'm saying, but they don't publicize it because they know that that's where the power is, that's the foundational structure. So we ain't doing no broadcast, everybody out there, there ain't no lines, and then you go and come on out, because it's not that popular, because that's where the muscle is. By the time you get to this level, it's like, we vote, but we wasn't going to change, because we wasn't in the conversation at the beginning to formulate by the time we get here. Oh, I voted for this. I know Stacy gonna do this. I know Jessica gonna make sure we get, books in schools and so forth. So as you're saying, and this is a good conversation, and Pop's always saying, put it in a book if they want to know something about the black people, because it's sad, but sure, we don't read, we don't research, we don't investigate. It's like when the man say whatever the news give us, that's what we go with. Right. We're not in the conversation when they have the town hall, but it's educational benefits. Okay, we want this school, da. So let them do. Nobody wanna. Well, I gotta work. I gotta go cook. Like excuses. But when it comes down to it, we're not in the fight. We're not in the conversation because we want everybody else to do it, but they complain when it doesn't, position us in the right position.
And it is so true because I have looked on and I like to watch it.
So when I'm watching the news, right, and I hear about town hall meetings, and they're going to show, it's mostly white people at town hall meeting now. Mostly white people. And I said, One day I am going to show up at a town hall, but I'm not hey, I have to show up being silent because then I don't sound the same. But when you look at these things on the news, it's mostly white people shows up to these things. Where are our representatives? Who is representing us as you said, the black people in these, in Warner Robins, the police has town hall meetings. I'll see it on the news. They have town hall meetings. They had the last one in December for the year 2025. And this morning they're talking about the ones that they're going to have for 2026. And they want to hear from the locals. They're asking us to come out to share our opinions on what's happening. It's all white people here and no black people.
We can talk all day about it. But you gotta look
about it now.
You gotta look at yourself.
Facts.
In Warner Robins, the mayor election they just had, Warner Robins, there's 73,000 black folk. In Macon, it's 109,000 black folk. In Warner Robins at the mayor election, how many people do you think showed up? No, I'm asking, how many people showed up? There was a black mayor running in Warner Robins. 1,700 people showed up to vote for him. You see, so you have to say, did any of you who live in Warner Robins go vote? No, we did not. One thing what Summer talks about all the time, she says, Mama, people talk and they complain, but they never look at the statistics. They never pay attention. So you get a card in the mail. My husband and I get this card all the time. Yes. That card in the mail says, call us, inform us, because you might want to run. The reason why they send that card is because it's legal for them to look and see how many times you vote. She gets the card. If you get that card, that means they're looking and seeing how you vote. And they say, you're making your voice heard. So we want to know who you are. Because my call is saying, you vote a lot. It's important for you to vote every time there is election. Say, I don't know who to vote for. Google is good for you. That's right. Google people. I have no excuses no more. Google is good. Then you have to pay attention. I'm not taking up your time. I know you got a lot to say because you're an advocate on this, but it's so important, especially young people, not my age. See, my age go vote. Y'all young people. Y'all young people. Y'all gotta go vote. Y'all been talking, but y'all ain't voting. Amen. Y'all gotta go make a difference in the local level. Right. So that when the police pull up and pull your young son, he can do whatever he wanna do. That's because y'all ain't voting. That's right. That's right now. Y'all go vote so that police can pull y'all young son and then dictate what y'all gonna do to him, because y'all know the mayor say, no, I can't do that. You wonder why the mayor didn't go on Davis and Vicky? She didn't go on Davis and Vicky because when they looked at the stats and said Davis and Vicky ain't voting. So we don't care about Davis and Vicky. That gender should be Davis and Vicky. Why? She's not about who they're voting. These 1,700 people that voted, there will be white people over here on Houston Lake. Let me go tend to that part, because them the people gonna vote for me. The money is coming from over here. She purposely went over there and opened that homeless shelter right before the election. Right before the election. It wasn't even finished. Derek and I went over there and looked at it. Said, listen, the wife said the thing ain't even finished. We know it ain't finished, but she had to do it. Why? Because she needed them white folk to see that she was doing something.
so that she won the election.
And that's black man. When I was young, when I came out of high school, I wanted all that. I wanted the lights. I wanted everything that the guys in the fight gave a hard time to just keep on the lights on the board. I got no card, and once I got my card, and you don't know what it means, you just get it. Like everybody said, you're supposed to have it, so I'm here. And I got arrested for DUI, driving and drinking. And I'm sitting there, the lady said, the officer said, I said, I gotta wait till tomorrow morning to see the judge. She said, yeah, unless you got to go to the registration card, you can get out right now. I said, well, here you go. She said, well, son, you know, she's like, well, you're very few. And I gave her the card, and I was able to go out on my own name to walk out. So there's some person that comes with this stuff when you know the law.
Not that you should drink and drive.
No.
Not that part, of course. That's just for example purposes.
But history itself is like knowledge for us because we don't know. When I was young, during the military, you automatically enrolled. But the reason I started to vote, not because of policies or procedures, I started to vote because it was a duty, because those before me couldn't. So when I originally started voting, I wasn't voting because it was cereal milk. I was voting just to show the duty that I honor you who came before me. It was when I continued to vote, then I started looking at policies, procedures, local, federal. The thing is, the failure is, like I was saying, why he don't vote. It ain't about policies and procedures until you learn. It's about duty, though. For those who could not vote, people died in lines and marches so that you and I today could pass our opinion with voting. It's having the power to speak on a matter that the masses will vote on. You become a part of that. So I just think it's important that you look at your duty first. You owe the people who died for you in a voting line to at least go and vote.
Very, very, very true. And the thing with the vote, why it's so important, if you don't need to look at anything other than the fact that it's constantly under attack. Constantly, 24/7, they are trying to eliminate our right to vote. If it wasn't important, it would not be a key focus. But the fact that they do redlining, the fact that they change districts, the fact that they are constantly creating barriers for us to vote, says that it is important that we vote. Whether you feel like it matters or not, but it's important. The voting will determine when that cop pull you over if he give you a ticket or if he detained. Because the city attorney not gonna prosecute you if I take you to jail. So there's no point in taking you to jail. The city attorney gonna just release you with a ticket. So that is determined by your vote. It is very important. It only takes a few minutes. It's not some long line. The election for the president is the only time I go there for all local elections. I'm in and out in all of 5 minutes. I go in, get people my ID, go over there to one of the booths. It's me and about 4 or 5 older people. Okay. And then we go, you know, they in there voting, hey, you know. You go in there, you go in and out. Okay? And if you're not sure who's running or who to vote for, take you 5 minutes, go to Google. I'm not so versed on politics. I go to Google, I look the people up, I see what they've done, what they haven't done, who they are. Okay, all right, go for you. And as my granddaddy say Democrat, Republican. Don't nobody know when you get in the booth who you clicking for. And my granddaddy was a staunch Republican. He'll say Democrat, but he was a staunch Republican. Don't nobody know who you clicking for in the group. Between you and the Lord.
Yes, good morning. I'm here listening and learning. Um, I'm a person who loves to vote. In Jamaica, that is. That's again what it is.
That's right.
But and I think it's the same thing here, same thing in Jamaica. But I didn't know the full understanding of why you vote. Because as I said earlier on, if you don't vote locally and nothing is happening, it's because you didn't vote. And I didn't know that. Because you're gonna vote because you like the person or the person. Probably in Jamaica, people would come around and give you money. You know,
Right.
you will like the person for that, so you will put him in. You know, but it's not here like that. So I am really learning what's the main purpose of voting. As my wife always said, reading is fundamental.
Yes.
So
Repeat
so when
that
you
part.
don't read,
Repeat that part.
reading is fundamental. So when you don't read and understand, oh, we are behind time.
Facts. And as Apostle said, it's your civic duty because so many people have fought, bled, died for your right to vote, for your voice to be heard. Ladies, we didn't get into the 19th Amendment. It was centuries later. Okay. These men been able to vote for the longest time. So when I see brothers not voting, you done had to vote for over 100 years. We couldn't even have a credit card till 1975. Bank account, nothing. And they trying to send us back. Going. Go to Mexico first, don't they?
I think they say we was enslaved for 400 years. But now it seems like I don't vote because I'm terrified about this white man. He real clever, and back then they used to do all types of things for the Negroes to not be able to vote. They still do it in so many ways because they was just talking about Donald Trump when he ran president the first time, how they hacked the system. So a lot of black people are terrified about how clever the white man is cheap and doing what he want to do. So a lot of black people, I ain't gonna fool with it. I'm the same way. They gonna do what they want to do behind closed doors. Just like when they say Malcolm X got killed, they killed Malcolm X. No, they killed him in the hospital. He made it through the shot. But you got to keep reading, like you say, reading is fundamental. That's understood. But I feel like the white man got the black man so terrified over here, they going to do what they want to do. Whether they going to cheat, hack, they going to get who they want to get. So I vote. It seems like it don't matter. But some people have so much pride, like Apostle, he going to vote for those who couldn't vote. That's understood. But I feel like the white man got this under control. They gonna do what they want to do. It ain't no more fair game sometimes.
I got a question. I got a question before everybody go crazy.
White man.
Calm down. I got a question.
You a business owner. Why?
Say that again? Because I can. See, that's the part. And you should vote because you can. See, the same white man that's in the vote line is in the employment line. But what did you do? You created your own company. Where that white man at? Same man. See, that's what you got to realize. Now, if you can go and create a company so free from a white man, but you created a company, because the same white man you come out, you the same white man about to vote. But how did he stop you then? That's the part you really got to look at. I just want to say this to y'all, that when you look at it, guys, why do you think this ICE thing is so big? Why do you think ICE is so crazy? Because what's happening is they don't show you Judy, they don't show you Nick, they don't show you Nikisha. And the people that they're running after, those people are not doing anything other than what the American dream says you can do. But the problem is come back to voting. Because if you get over here and you get legal, you limit their power. And the thing is, you live in our power because you're here, you can vote. They're going to the backwoods and get rid of all who can't read. You get them in line like someone said, and listen, this is how Hillary Clinton didn't win because like you said, nobody showed up. But what happens is this. Your vote may not matter to you, but it matters to us. So even like it's something, when you get in that vote, there's no choice. But listen, you started going pretty well. It's the same situation. If you say you won't vote me, but you make money, that ain't fair to us. Amen?
I have a question and a statement. So I learned when Gary got to 18, I got this thing that says that he had to sign up for selective service.
Yes, ma'am.
And if I did not sign it, and this is for mothers with boys, children, parents with boy children, listen. Because I did not know what it was. I said, I'm not signing my child up for no selective service. No. But in that thing it said, if I did not sign him up for selective service, he would not be able to get any grants for college. He would not be able to have a bank account. He would not be able to vote when he becomes an adult. If he is a U.S. citizen, he had to be registered for this thing called selective service. So I went to the school and I asked there was a principal there that loved Gary and some, and I asked her, what is this selective service that I get for Gary to sign up in? And when she broke it all down to me, I registered Gary one time. Let's just register you for this. And the selective service, as I understood it, and you can clarify, if they have to do a drafting for the military, even if they can draft him, and he has to go and I can't take him back to Antigua.
That's called draft dodging. That's called draft dodging. And selective service, yes, is a law, federal law. Every man has to sign up for selective service. Ladies, that's one thing we don't have to do. Sometimes being a woman is good. So we're not required by law to do that. They didn't want us in the military anyway for it.
But here's what's
funny.
But here's what's funny. She's fighting selective service, but they selected to go to the service. Ain't that beautiful?
See,
only in the middle.
But yeah, I mean the military used to. I would say the only time I saw the military in my high school in Miami, it's not like here where y'all got offices up here in the South in the mall and stuff. You sign up for the that's not how it was. The only time I saw the military show up was during the time when they needed selective service to have people have the guys sign up and everything. But yeah, it's a law that all men have to do it. If they are drafted, then which is another reason why it's important to vote because the president can declare war and send your sons to the military to the war to die. That's his right to do such things. So another thing for vote. To touch back on what you were saying about voting, you're a business owner. The Secretary of State dictates what are the rules to start a business, what fines you have to pay, taxes, what paperwork you have to submit. That is an elected official. So right now, I think what we got, Roxburgh, what's his name?
Yeah.
His photo on the website. Okay. If he decides there needs to be an extra XYZ, now you got to pay this, do this paperwork. Now you're not a legitimate business anymore because he's passed a new thing. Because that elected official decided that that's new. So as a business owner, it's very important
in office. That determines what kind of tax breaks you get. That determines what things you got to have visible. That determines, do I have to have employees or can I 1099 most of these people? All of this, can I have contractors? Can I have all of this is dictated by elected officials. So everything we do, business owner, employee, whatever, is dictated by an elected. When you go to the grocery store, what's on your shelves is dictated by the FDA, which is a government-run agency. The only people who don't have to deal with the government, people off the grid, out there in the wilderness, you know, 20,000 miles from the nearest civilization. They have nothing to do with the government.
I needed to talk about something. I heard on the news.
Talk about this. I heard on the news that they have removed a number of persons from the voting list right here in Georgia.
Yeah.
And it's a big number. Talk about that.
Well,
how do we know if our names are still on there or not?
So what they did was people who were registered and weren't voting,
right,
they technically removed them. So you can always go to the voters registration website and check to see where you're supposed to be voting if you're still in the system for voting. If you're not in the system for voting, you just put in. You can do it when you go renew your license. You can do. It's 100 different ways to do it. It's not that hard to do it on the website. You can mail in all these different things. But you can definitely check on it because you can see your record for voting. It's public knowledge if you vote on a regular basis. Anybody can. If I know your name, I can look it up and say, I ain't never voted.
You say that they're moving them. It's the same thing that the mother said earlier. Because they can contact you if the information's still out there. When they remove you, you can't get contacted. Guys, this thing is about leverage. You said earlier about statistics. If there's a way to make contact with you, if anybody, you can look on there. So if I'm looking to get voters to register, I can go on that site. What happens is that they removed them, and Georgia did that. They removed them because they didn't want nobody to contact them. So they ain't voting. They only moved because you're not doing it. And the greatest thing about it is that's why it's so important.
It's very important. It's very important because and I understand being disenfranchised with the vote, but it's the easiest way to get your voice heard because not everybody can get a sign and stand up in front of the military vehicle. That's not everybody's ministry. Not everybody can go to the meetings. Not everybody. So the easiest way to make your opinion and voice heard is to vote. That's the less stressful way. And voting and not voting are all making your voice heard. Not voting is deciding. Yes, it can be cheating. Yes. So do you just say it's rigged and do nothing and just whatever happens to you happens to you? Because something is going to happen to you. It will affect you. Right. I know you don't think it will, but eventually it's going to come your way. It always does. And if it wasn't important, I'll go back to the same thing, they would not be constantly attacking it. You see what they try to do in Atlanta? They try to change the districting. That's important because, the last election they talked about how black women in Atlanta came through. They came through because of the way the districts were. So now you switch that over a little bit over here, you got to put the white folk over here. So them numbers don't matter as much. That also, it determines so many things as far as what can be prosecuted, what they're going to focus on. All of that. Because at the end of the day, they want to respond to what they think people want to hear. But if you don't make your voice heard, then you obviously don't care. And in their point of view, if you don't care, I don't care. Why should I care? When you don't care.
That's fine.
No, I look at it like this. At some point, it's going to affect who's in your circle. When you look at my voting, I said voting because the people before me, but they realize that the local area, it affects my children. When you look like the stuff that they did for us to vote, it affects us now. So for us to vote, to be able to have a word because they didn't have one, but they were willing to do so what we got to do, be willing to do, because the people coming behind us, it's a simple stuff where we ain't gonna worry about that. But if we don't worry about it, it'll catch up with you eventually. And see, that's the difference in important. Not what you got today, but what's coming. Because like you say, this is gonna affect one way. Make the choice on how it affects you.
I'm not going to be here too much longer, but I just want to say, it's important to vote. This is it's something like Apostle said. It's a future thing. It's not necessarily what's happening right this second. It's what you expect in the future. Let me give you an example. When Hillary was running and Trump won, right, that first time, it was important not just for today, for that day. It was important because there were at least 2 Supreme Court justices that were at the age of either dying or retiring.
That's right. That's so.
And so it was important who was going to be the president because that person was going to dictate who those 2 new people were going to be, which dictates what federal laws could be put in place, which dictates what federal laws could be reversed.
That's right.
And what happened? He won. He put 2 Republican people in office. Now we got the Civil Rights Act of 1964 being debated.
Yes, that's it.
Now we got Roe versus Wade reversed.
Yes,
now we got the Voters' Right Act under attack. All the rights that we take for granted that they fought and bled for in the 60s are being debated in the Supreme Court and looked at right now. You got Trump saying it is such an injustice for white people.
Yes.
That's only because he got in the first time, put them 2 people in place. Because that gig is pretty much a lifetime gig. Ain't no such thing as getting people out.
That's right.
It is a die or retire.
Yep.
Okay. And all skin folk ain't kinfolk because Clarence Thomas been there for a long time. And I don't know about you, but I ain't never heard of
some people get even there.
Facts.
Because he voted.
Huh?
Say Trump put him in. Trump don't even know the people. It's the people that's around.
No, that's not true.
No.
So Trump, the president, actually decides who he wants to take those positions, right? Then those people go in front of a panel and they question them. But I mean, it's already done.
Are you aware that the president assembles that Supreme Court people?
Yeah, but I don't think he personally know him.
He doesn't have to personally know them.
He knows their.
He know they
He knows your value. He knows their value.
Yeah.
And so if I know your value, if I want something done, I know your value, I'm going to go get at it. So why do I have to personally know you if I know your value? What you're confused about now, she's talking about values that the 2 people you put in, it's the things I've been put in for years. Why this thing is the Trump Kennedy Center? All that is foolishness. But because the 2 people he got, they can change rules, they can change laws. That's the problem with all my son. I don't care if you personally know. You personally know what they're going to do. Because if you didn't, they investigated.
Look, they already putting people out.
No. That's a lie. You got to go back and look. What Donald Trump wants right now.
Donald Trump gets. Because he got the backing.
But you need to go look at the laws. We got to spend some time together.
He has the backing.
Because he's asking for it. These people didn't do this before Donald Trump.
Y'all better read.
No.
Donald Trump is the Mussolini.
Donald Trump ain't God. I don't care. But for you to sit there and not know how he's manipulating and making things happen, as she said, by putting people in certain positions.
No. Okay, so the president.
We're not listening.
So the president has a lot of rights of what they can do. There's been some presidents that didn't do as much, but the president has a lot of things that they have the right to do. And one of those things, when he won the first time, why that election was so pivotal was not just because it was a woman running, this is going to be history, but it was also because of what was going to happen in the future. This was going to set us on a path that could either be status quo per se, which a lot of people don't want to be status quo, but you don't want it like it is now. I mean, you don't want it worse. And you knew that if he won, you had them two people. I mean, they was on their door. It was happening in the day now. I mean, it really was. It was bad. Bruce was up there like this. Like it was every time you saw Ginsburg, you were like, oh Lord, you know. And so she was knocking on death's door. You had enough, you know. So you knew once he got in the office, because that's part of his job. He decides who's going to be in the Supreme Court. It's not dictated by Congress. He decides. It's not like he's just getting his homeboys, his homegirls. No, he's getting people who can further his agenda, what he wants done. That's what a politician does. At the end of the day, they're moving people around so that way what they want done can get done.
Would you like to see a white woman be a president?
I'm like an educated person.
I'm just saying.
If it's a woman, yes. Why the other?
Is America ready for a woman president?
Well, they've tried it twice and failed. So yes and no. Not enough people voted in either election.
We want to see it, but I don't think we're ready for it.
Okay, one question. Did you go vote?
But let me ask you a question. Did you vote in either election?
Yeah, I asked you. No.
See,
That's it.
not enough people voted. Not enough people voted because they're disenfranchised and they feel like it's not important. You know, you have people saying, "Oh, just start a business, just do this, just do that." But in the day, everything we do is dictated by the government.
It would be a beautiful thing, but even when Barack Obama was in office, it was so many cops on black brutality than any president it was. I don't think they even cared about if Obama was black. It was so many officers killing black kids. It was unbelievable.
So it's not. It wasn't. So to say that it was more than ever before is not true. Because DWB has been a term since before I was born.
Yes.
Driving While Black has been a term. That didn't just happen when Obama got in office. That's been a term forever and a day. And at the end of the day, there was a time where we got killed just by simply being in a town. So it's not true that not since forever before. It wasn't. One of the differences is during Obama is that he was a black president. Okay, this is the age of the internet, and this is the time where people can televise a lot more things. But also, it's not up to the president to dictate everything that happens in your individual state, which is why I go back to. It's important who you vote as your sheriff, when I can never remember that boy name. The boy who died in was it Minneapolis, Minnesota? John Blank. There's so many, but there was
George Floyd?
It wasn't George Floyd. I'm John Blank. But the young man. No, it wasn't in Georgia. It was somewhere up north. I'm drawing a blank on his name. He was a young guy. I think he had recently graduated high school or whatever. One of the things that stuck out to me, right, when he was killed, is when you look at the police force in his area, it was all white. The sheriffs and everybody. Most of them, in fact, didn't even live in the city that they were policing. You vote for your sheriffs in most cities. So you wonder why the cop keep pulling you over? Your sheriff helps dictate that. Well, that's an elected position. That's right.
Yeah, the brother that beat the death in New York
So because you're
was
not
selling
voting, that
cigarettes.
white man who
Was
knows
selling
better, your
single
life
cigarettes.
keep it.
Yeah.
And you wonder why your homeboy
Not
keeps
only
getting
that,
stopped, why you keep
it's
getting
plenty
stopped,
of them.
why they're not
We can start
firing
with
these
him
people
and Tim
who keep doing
and
these
go for it.
civil rights violations. Why they're not doing anything? Because you're not voting.
Oh, he didn't do what he did.
You're not voting.
I mean, he don't
The president does not dictate what happens to you on your local streets,
oh, he didn't do what he did.
your county, your city mayor, your city council, your sheriff. All of that dictates what happens to you when you go on to Walmart. You get pulled over. I had a friend of mine, in fact, get pulled over this a few years ago. Not that far from Walmart. It was cold in Water Robin. It was cold. He was walking home with a hoodie on because he worked at Walmart and lived right across the street. So he was walking home. He got pulled over, detained, and the lady who called the police said he was the person who mugged her. The only thing that saved him was he had his receipt.
From Walmart.
Just left Walmart. He was actually just getting off from work. As he was leaving, he bought something. So they went to Walmart, watched the video, saw that he was, at the time that this happened, he was actively at the register. And that's the only reason he wasn't arrested. But this took hours of him sitting there on the curb handcuffed. You know what I mean? And I can give you another example. You wonder why sometimes when a situation happens that involves a black person, a black man, black woman, the cops come, sirens, all this. It's gonna be two cops, always with the sirens. I've seen a white person run into a whole guardrail. Cops come, no sirens, no lights. Hey man, what's going on? And then you outside looking like, okay, he about to get arrested. There's only one cop car. But he about to get, they going, yeah, things happen. Let the man go. But if more people voted, those discrepancies and those differences wouldn't be so vast all the time. It's only that way because you're not voting in a local election. You're only voting for president, which only dictates federal stuff. There are so many people. That's what over 300 million people in the United States. Each state in the United States is technically the size of a country. Each state, the governor of that state is technically its own little president. So you can't say Obama did. Obama can't reach down into Bibb County. You can't reach down into Bibb County.
So how do we get stronger leaders in the community?
She told you.
But I'm just saying, if I didn't have any parents or any friends or anybody and I wanted to vote, how can the community get stronger to listen to some of this speech? Because this is also knowledge that you're speaking on ignorance of black people not voting. So
where that is?
Get there, you
know,
how you
get there. So person by person,
get there.
You be that person. You be that person. You be that person. You be hanging out with your homeboy, y'all. Yeah, they say, man, it don't matter. Well, you know, I'm looking at it like this. If I don't vote, I'm letting them know what I think. If I do vote, I let them know what I think. It could be rigged, but either way, it's going to affect me. So I might as well do this one little thing and pray that it affects me in a good way. Since there's nothing else I can do. Control what you can control. Right. The only thing you can control is going to vote. I can't control what they do with it. I can't control nothing else. I can only control me attempting to do this one thing. Right. That's the only thing I can do. Right. And that's the only thing that takes the least amount of work from me. Because as I say, not everybody's ministry is to be, at the boycott. But somebody got to get coffee. Somebody got to make copies. You may not be at the stage in front of the And that's what it is. And can I say something before? I think if all of us in our own little, as Brother Andrew was saying, um, if all of us in our own little areas, in our own little section, being what I want to use, um, proactive or being intentional about talking to the people around us. In my field of work, I work with disabled people. And when voting time comes and I walk into that center, I ask all of my staff, I got duty to vote last year. Me and her went to vote. I asked everybody, even the disabled people, Mommy, going to take you to vote? And if they say they want me to take them to vote, I am taking them. We took them to vote. Even the disabled, they have a right. And they are also affected by the decisions that are being made. So if once they can talk and they say, I want to vote, my staff taking them to vote. They're going to vote. Why? Because, and I'm not telling them who to, I'm asking you, who are you going to vote for? I want to know if they understand exactly what it is that they're doing. Right. And somebody like that will say, yes, I know one voting for, and I want to go to vote. And I am taking them, my staff is going to take them to vote because it is their democratic right. It is their right to do this and be a part of the exercise. Exactly. Thank you so much, Summer. No problem. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you.
I really thank Summer because the chick got so much knowledge. And sometimes I sit and talk with her and I'm just mind blown of how much she knows. She just tapped on voting, but when you get her going and she started talking about businesses and what it does to the whole world, and just her mind just keeps going. She reads. She reads. She studies statistics. She studies so much. One day I'm sitting talking to Summer. Summer says, "Mom, do you know who has murdered people more than anything else in the world? Do you know?" And I'm like, "Do you know what entity has murdered? Do any of you know who has murdered more people than anything in the world?"
Ignorance.
Ignorance. And I'm thinking, I'm like, I don't know. She said, "Mama, oh,
All right, we're done.